The room was quiet, but not in a peaceful way. The kind of quiet that sits heavy on your chests, that makes your heartbeat sound like a drum in your own ears. Chief Moshood Kashimawo Olawale Abiola, the man Nigerians had once danced in the streets for, sat across from foreign diplomats. He was tired, his once broad frame shrunken, his face lined with years of prison walls and unanswered prayers. A cup of tea was placed before him. He lifted it. He sipped. He smiled faintly. And then, the impossible happened. His hand trembled. The cup slipped. His lips stiffened. His chest heaved. He gasped, fell forward, and the room erupted in panic. Men shouted. Doctors rushed. Feet stamped against the floor. But within minutes, the news escaped the guarded walls and slipped into the air like a ghost. Abiola is dead. It was July 7th, 1998. The president Nigeria never had was gone. But how did we get here? How did the one man who united Nigeria across tribe, religion, and class, the one man chosen by the people in the freest election the country had ever seen, end up dying in captivity? Poisoned or broken? His dream unfinished? To answer that, we must walk back through time, back to where it all began, with a little boy whose very name carried a prophecy. In 1937, in the ancient city of Abeokuta, a child was born into poverty. His parents named him Kashimawo, which in Yoruba means let us wait and see. It was not a name of certainty, but of doubt, almost as if destiny itself paused before making a decision. Would this boy live long? Would he matter? Would he rise or fall? His childhood was filled with hunger. He was the kind of boy who sold firewood at dawn just so his family could eat by night. He sang in school choirs not because of talent, but because it earned him free food. He learned early that life does not give. You must take, you must fight, you must endure. Yet, from this hunger grew ambition, from this struggle grew resilience, and from this doubt grew destiny. Abiola was gifted with numbers, with a brain that could make sense of money as if he were born for it. He studied accounting in Glasgow, Scotland, on scholarship, and when he returned, he did not come back as just another graduate. He returned as a man with a vision. He joined ITT, International Telephone and Telegraph, and there he grew into a colossus. He built empires across publishing, oil, banking, and more. His name appeared everywhere. He became a billionaire not just in wealth, but in influence. But here is where Abiola differed from other rich men. He shared. He built schools. He funded scholarships. He gave to churches and mosques alike. He was a Muslim who donated to Christian cathedrals, a Yoruba man who fed Hausa communities, a businessman who remembered the poor. And so he became something rare. A man loved by the people, not just envied. Love, however, is dangerous in politics. Love makes you powerful, and power attracts enemies. By the 1980s and early 90s, Nigeria was a nation trapped in the iron grip of men in khaki. Soldiers ruled with decrees, guns replaced ballots, and fear lingered in every corner. One coup toppled another, and the cycle of betrayal became normal. The promise of independence, celebrated in 1960 with flags and fireworks, now felt like a cruel joke. Freedom wrapped in chains. Then came General Ibrahim Babangida, a man as charming as he was cunning, with words smooth enough to disarm suspicion. He promised what the people longed for, a return to civilian rule. But Nigerians had been deceived too many times to believe easily. Yet, against the backdrop of doubt, elections were scheduled for June 1993. Hope flickered once more, and into that fragile moment of possibility stepped a man whose name carried weight, wealth, and destiny. Moshood Kashimawo Olawale Abiola. Abiola's campaign was unlike anything Nigeria had seen. He wasn't campaigning as a Yoruba man or as a Muslim. He was campaigning as a Nigerian. His wealth gave him reach. His philanthropy gave him credibility. His charisma gave him power. On June 12, 1993, Nigerians lined up at polling stations. Old men with walking sticks, women with babies on their backs, youth with fire in their eyes. For once, tribe did not matter. Religion did not matter. Hope mattered. And when the results trickled in, the impossible happened. Nigerians voted as one. North, South, East, West. Abiola won across the board. It was the freest, fairest election in Nigeria's history. A miracle. But miracles rarely survive in the hands of men. Before the final results could be officially declared, General Ibrahim Babangida performed the unthinkable. He annulled the election. The reason he gave was the familiar excuse of widespread irregularities. But beneath the polished statement lay a darker, simpler truth: fear. The military elite could not stomach the idea of a civilian president they could not bend or control. Abiola was too independent, too popular, too powerful in his own right. His wealth, his influence, and the sheer force of the people's mandate made him a threat the soldiers were unwilling to tolerate. The announcement struck the nation like a thunderclap. Nigerians who had queued for hours under the hot June sun to cast their votes felt a knife pierce their trust. The streets erupted. Cries of betrayal turned into marches, marches into protests, and protests into chaos. Soldiers, the very men who had sworn to protect, turned their rifles on civilians. Gunfire cracked the air. Innocent blood stained the roads of Lagos, Ibadan, Kano, and beyond. Nigeria had spoken clearly through the ballot box, but Nigeria's voice was silenced. The man chosen by the people, Moshood Kashimawo Olawale Abiola, was transformed overnight from a symbol of hope into a prisoner of politics. Abiola did not keep quiet. On June 11, 1994, exactly 1 year after his stolen victory, he declared himself Nigeria's rightful president. His words were fire. "You voted for me. I am your president." It was not just a statement, it was a challenge. It was a war cry. And the military, now gripped by the iron fist of General Sani Abacha, reacted with ruthless fury. Soldiers stormed Abiola's home in the dead of night, their boots pounding like war drums. They dragged the president-elect away, silencing his voice before it could grow louder. In handcuffs, he was tossed into a cell, stripped of freedom. The man chosen by millions was reduced to a captive of power. Abacha ruled Nigeria with iron and fire. Fear became the air people breathed. Activists vanished without trace. Journalists who dared to question him disappeared into silence. Every voice of opposition was crushed beneath his boot. And then came the wound that cut deepest: the murder of Kudirat Abiola, wife of Moshood Abiola. In 1996, Kudirat had become her husband's voice while he languished in prison, his strength when he could no longer speak. She organized protests, rallied the people, and challenged Abacha's regime with fearless defiance. She was the symbol of hope that refused to die. But the regime decided she had gone too far. The order came from above, whispered down the chain of command until it reached the hands of 6 men. On that fateful day in Lagos, gunmen ambushed her car. Bullets ripped through the vehicle in a spray of machine gun fire. Kudirat was struck down instantly. Her driver also died in the barrage. Sitting in the car with her was her personal assistant, who survived unharmed, but later faced accusations of complicity with the assassins. The message from Abacha's regime was chilling, loud, and unmistakable. Not even your family is safe. Abiola rotted in prison. His health declined. Foreign governments begged for his release. The world knew this was not just a man, this was a symbol. Nigeria's future sat behind those prison bars. Then, in June 1998, fate struck with sudden, shocking force. General Sani Abacha, the man who had ruled Nigeria with an iron fist and a heart of stone, died unexpectedly. Rumors swirled through the streets and whispers filled every corner. Some said he had been poisoned by his own excesses, the very pleasures he indulged in becoming instruments of his demise. Across Nigeria, people poured into the streets. Horns blared. Crowds cheered. Fireworks lit the night sky. The tyrant who had silenced voices, imprisoned the innocent, and cast the nation into fear was gone at last. Relief mingled with disbelief. And in that moment, the country held its breath, eyes turning toward Abiola. Surely now, the man who had been denied his rightful place would walk free. Surely Nigeria would correct the injustice, restore hope, and embrace the democracy it had long been denied. But destiny is a cruel teacher, and history has a way of twisting even the most promising turns. On July 7th, 1998, just weeks after Abacha's sudden death, Abiola was meeting US diplomats. The talks were serious, promising, full of hope. Nigerians whispered in anticipation, the president will finally take his seat. Then, the sudden collapse, the stunned silence that followed. Within hours, the dream ended forever. Moshood Kashimawo Olawale Abiola lay dead on the hospital bed, the weight of a nation's stolen future pressing over him. The president Nigeria had chosen, the man who carried its hopes and aspirations, would never rule, not for a single day. Abiola's death was more than the end of a man. It was the burial of a possibility. For once, Nigerians had chosen across tribal and religious lines. For once, the people had spoken clearly. And for once, the leader they chose was a man who gave as much as he took. But that chance was stolen. Nigeria fell back into the grip of corruption, misrule, and recycled failures. Did we miss our only chance to get it right? Over and over, Nigeria chooses leaders not for wisdom, not for character, but for tribe, money, and power. We let the worst of us climb the throne, while the best of us are silenced, exiled, or buried. And so the cycle repeats. Poverty, corruption, despair. The people suffer, the rulers feast, and the land bleeds. Imagine Nigeria as a fertile farm. The soil is rich. The rain falls in season. The harvest could feed the world. But the farmers, us, the people, keep planting bad seeds, rotten seeds, seeds that can never grow into fruit. Then, one day, a farmer brings a good seed, strong, healthy, full of promise. The people cheer. They plant it. But before it sprouts, jealous men dig it up and throw it away. And once again, the land starves. Abiola was that seed, the good seed Nigeria never allowed to grow. What must be done? If we are to fix Nigeria, we must do more than complain. We must do more than vote blindly. We must guard our votes. We must fight for the leaders we choose. We must stop planting rotten seeds.
Democracy is not given, it is defended. Freedom is not granted, it is demanded. Abiola's story is not just history, it is prophecy. The president Nigeria never had still speaks. His voice echoes from the grave, whispering to every Nigerian who still dreams of a better land. Beware the men who steal your future with a smile. Protect your vote, protect your choice, defend your seed, or you will never taste the harvest. I hope you enjoyed the story. Kindly subscribe for more. See you in my next story.